This is the Pain Train Preston Quinn, one half of the Extreme Horsemen. And when I want to hear music and entertainment, I come right here. You're listening to On The Fly with Stevie and Warden.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Zeus.
And we're from Shout It Out Loudcast. And this is Gene Simmons from Kiss.
And this is Ace Frehley. And when we want to listen to anything about football, music, Kiss, wrestling, country music, and more, we go to On The Flythe.
With Stevie Flythe and Jason Worden. Check them out.
Oh, yeah!
Hey, this is Todd Howarth from Ace Frehley's Comet, Cheap Trick, Ted Nugent, 707, 4x Fate, and Return of the Comet. Hey, you are listening to On The Fly with Stevie and Warden. Yep, that's what you're listening to, and you're listening to it all night long. And maybe during the day. Hell, I don't know. I'm not there. But take my word for it.
Hey, this is Warren from Taming Sorry, and you're listening to On The Fly with Stevie and Jason.
Hey, it's Noelle Toland, and you're listening to On The Fly with Stevie.
You are listening to On The Fly.
What's up, guys? On The Fly is back again tonight. We've had a lengthy absence, but tonight I figured this was as good a night as any to start it back up again, to get cranked back up with the podcast. This week is going to be a busy week for both podcasts, The Final Score and On The Fly. But tonight, today, we are celebrating the 5th anniversary of On The Fly as a podcast. And man, we've had some bumps in the road here and there. We've had some times we've had to take off for different things, and coming back off of one of them right now. But let me tell you guys, this podcast, and I'll get more into it later about how important this podcast is to me, but let's just move on. I'll get to that at the end. But I do want to say, especially you heard some of the bumpers, some of the guests we've had on the show. There's been countless others and people that I would never, ever have been able to become friends with or acquaintance with or be able to talk to unless I had this show. And yeah, it's been great between the Final Score, On The Fly, and we branched off this past year into another side podcast called the Triple Threat Main Event with my buddy, the hitman from down under, Mr. Jack Pinocchio. Who in the world would have guessed that I would be doing a podcast with somebody from Australia? I would never in a million years guess that 5 years ago, but it's brought me a lot of new friends, and I call them friends. Some of them I've never met face to face, but I consider them friends. I mean, and I'm talking real good friends. We looked out for each other, and it's been a blessing. Let's get right into it. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. And you hear my dog back here growling. Some Mia, stop. Talk about some music news, movie news. A lot going on. Let's get into the movie part first. Looking at one of my favorite things, there's a comment coming in. My mentor, and you can blame this guy for me starting to do podcasts. A guy that had me call into his sports show for years and had me in his studio for years. Mr. Gaddis Hodges. I mean, we do the Final Score to mock draft, NFL drafts, and he has really, really helped me. He's gave me a lot of advice about not just doing the podcast, but in life in general. And Gaddis, I appreciate your friendship, and I appreciate you coming on the show like you do. Thank you so much. 5 years here, and I know it's at least 7 on the final score, but we hadn't hit that anniversary yet. But talking about movies, there's talk, 21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street. What was it? Jonah Hill, Channing Tatum. Two great movies. They all the time say the sequel is not as good as the original, but that wasn't the case. I would put these two movies, 21 and 22 Jump Street, right on the same level. I loved them both. They were hilarious. Now Channing Tatum is saying he wants to do a 23 Jump Street, and he says Jonah Hill is on board as well. Do you want to see a third? Do you want to see a trilogy of the Jump Street series? I know I do. I would love to see them do another one. And, they kind of tease it at the end of is it the end of 21 or 22 where they tease all the different ones that they're going to do at the end? I know there's a one where they go to hair school, they go to culinary school, they go to all these different kind of schools, and all these sequels. And there's even one where Jonah Hill is replaced by Seth Rogen, and they're like, act like he's not. That's me. That's not me. But some two great movies. I wonder if Rob Riggle would make an appearance in the third one if he's still going to be in prison. But 23 Jump Street. I would be happy to see a 23 Jump Street. And while we're on the that started without me even knowing. While we're on the subject of sequels, okay, my daughter, she's 20 years old. So she is about the time that, when she was a kid, one of the best animated series that was ever out there, Shrek. The Shrek series ended with Shrek Forever After, supposedly to be the end of the main Shrek franchise. You got 2 Puss in Boots spinoffs, but now Eddie Murphy, according to an interview he did, let's see, Collider, Shrek 5 has been started. His quote to Collider during an interview with Collider was, "We started doing Shrek 5 4 or 5 months ago. I recorded the first act and we'll be doing it this year. We'll finish it up. Shrek is coming out and Donkey's going to have his own movie. We're going to do Donkey as well. So we're going to do a Shrek and we're doing a Donkey film." He also clarified that the Donkey spinoff movie hasn't started production yet and will be the next film after Shrek 5. I started recording Shrek. I think it's coming out in 2025, and we're doing a Donkey one next. Of course, Eddie Murphy in another sequel that's getting ready to, I think it's coming to Netflix, a Beverly Hills Cop. The next, what is it? Beverly Hills Cop, is it 4 or 5? I can't remember. I have not watched. I remember 3. I don't know if there was a 4 that I missed, but I know there's a new Beverly Hills Cop getting ready to come out on Netflix. Will Cameron Diaz and Mike Myers come back? And I can't imagine them doing a Shrek. If you're not going to have the 3 originals, the 3 main ones, with Mike Myers, Cameron Diaz, and Eddie Murphy, then don't do it. I mean, that would be like they did too many Home Alone movies. Once you got past 2 and you went to 3 and you had a little kid up there that, I mean, how many Home Alone movies did they do? It was way too many. You just oversaturated that. You should have just left it alone when Macaulay Culkin was out. So yeah, and another sequel, and this is aimed towards my daughter as well. She made the post earlier. I don't know if you got, well, everybody, if you're my age, you remember the original Freaky Friday. I think, was it Jodie Foster was in that one? Jodie Foster, and I can't remember who else was in it. But they did one with, what's her name? Jamie Lee Curtis and that girl. Gosh, I can't remember her name now. I cannot remember her name. I'm going to have to look it up. Anyway, there was a picture and a post of them saying they're on the set. And it's another one coming soon. Lindsay Lohan, Lindsay Lohan. And it says they are back. How are they going to do this again, though? Jamie Lee Curtis are back to swap bodies in Freaky Friday 2. They released a behind-the-scenes photo from Disney from the set. Due out. The film is due out next year. Did they have a sequel to the first one? It's saying Freaky Friday 2 will pick up with an adult Anna who is raising a daughter of her own and is set to become a first-time stepmother. According to press notes, Tess and Anna will discover that lightning might indeed strike twice as they navigate the myriad challenges that come when two families merge. In addition to Curtis and Lohan, actors Mark Harmon, Chad Michael Murray, and Rosaline Chao are those that are coming back from the 2003 movie. So another sequel with it. Guys, there is not many original ideas in the film industry right now. I mean, there's a lot of sequels, a lot of remakes. I mean, this I don't really know what to get excited about anymore. You know, the people complain about the like the Star Wars stuff that comes out from on Disney now, that they're doing the original wrong. I don't see where they're doing it wrong. I really don't. But a lot of people, I actually enjoy a lot of the Star Wars series. Kenobi was good. Of course, The Mandalorian was great. And I still have not finished watching all that. The Mandalorian was good, so good they're making a movie out of it. Look, you just got to embrace what it is. There's certain movies, and we'll get into that on another podcast. Certain movies that they don't need to do a remake of, don't need to touch it. Leave it alone. Back to the Future comes to mind. You don't need to touch Back to the Future and do a remake of that. Leave it alone. But there's a lot more that doesn't need to. They don't need to touch. All right. So getting away from the movie stores. Everybody has these celebrities that we need to protect, that that are like so great. Betty White. Remember Betty White? Everybody just saying you can't. We got to protect Betty White. And of course, Betty White passed away at 99. But now one of them, in my opinion, that needs to be protected is Willie Nelson. And Willie Nelson is on the Outlaw Tour, the 2024 Outlaw Music Festival Tour. He's missing the opening run of shows because of an undisclosed illness. 91 years old. 91. This is on ultimateclassicrock.com. The 91-year-old country icon was slated to kick off the tour on Friday night, June 21st, at the Marist Bank Amphitheater in Alpharetta, Georgia, alongside Bob Dylan, Robert Plant, Alison Krauss, and Celeste. However, he won't be able to make the first weekend of shows on doctor's orders, according to his post on social media. The message on Friday afternoon came like this. We regret to inform you that Willie Nelson is not feeling well, and per doctor's orders has been advised to rest for the next 4 days. He is expected to make a quick recovery and join the Outlaw Music Festival tour next week. In the meantime, Lucas Nelson and the family band, along with a few guests, will form a special set to include Willie's classics and other songs. Bob Dylan, Robert Plant, Alison Krauss, and Celeste will continue to perform this schedule. Now, he's 91 years old, guys. And with this freaking heat wave we've had, I don't know how you guys are where you're at, but it's been bad. And let me tell y'all this, guys. I don't like to talk religion and politics. I am a Christian through and through. No doubt about it. I have my faith in God, everything. But some of you people out there, believe what you want to, but don't ridicule people for believing what they believe. I'm not going to ridicule you for your beliefs, but don't call prayers fantasies. And it's just hot. It's the summer. Save your prayers. Let people do what they believe in, and you just mind your own business. How about that? That's all I got to say about that. But you can disagree with me if you want to. I'm not going to dislike you. That's another thing we need to do in this country. Stop doing in this country. And I'm not going to get on my soapbox too much. Stop hating other people because they don't agree with you. It's a difference of opinion. How come like 6 or 7 years ago, it was all right to have a difference of opinion? Now it's like you're bitter enemies. It's like going to war. It's like civil war out there. But yeah, we need to work on that, guys. Get better. Yeah. So Willie Nelson, the heat could have something to do with. He's 91 years old. If he's not feeling well, I sure wouldn't want him to go out in the heat, in this kind of heat and stuff. So hopefully it's nothing serious. I mean, he is a icon of country music, not just country music, but music is in general. Willie Nelson is a icon. You guys realize, and that you guys my age, and we're going to talk more about. We're going to go retro a lot on this episode. Back in the day, 1985, and this was over the weekend. This week in 1985, Motley Crue releases Theater of Pain. And I can tell you this. I got into Motley Crue when my cousin played Shout the Devil on vinyl. He had the vinyl of Shout the Devil. I got into it. And I was so looking forward. I read Circus Magazine religiously. And I saw all the things that went on between Shout at the Devil and Theater of Pain, with Vince and the accident that killed Razzle. Him going on trial and severely injured the people in the other car that he crashed into, and he gets off. I'm sure a payout happened, but he gets off. You don't even know if Vince is going to be in Motley Crue anymore, or he's going to be in jail. So you look at that, and then I remember going to the local mall. Yeah, we had those back in the day, a shopping mall, not like Walmart. This was a mall with different stores. Had a freaking arcade that was great. I put a picture up. I've been looking for a picture for years of the arcade that we had in the mall. It was about a 25-30-minute drive for me to get there. It's called the Gold Mine, and it was so great. That mall was packed, but the music store there was called Camelot Music, and I can remember going and buying that cassette, and that was one of the first ones I ever saw. Usually back in the day, cassettes were white. They weren't clear. They were white. And then this was the first one I remember getting that was clear, that had the clear and the track listings on it, and had one of those you remember the long cardboard decorative holders that they had? This one had that. And it had a different smell to it. The cassette had a different smell to it. And I was just like, holy crap. I love Theater of Pain. I know a lot of people say it's not one of their best, that it's carried by Home Sweet Home, which is a good one to be carried by. A lot of people don't like Smoking in the Boys Room. There's some songs I don't really care for on Theater of Pain, but majority of it I do like on Theater of Pain. You look at Motley Crue, they pretty much changed from album to album. They had that look for Too Fast for Love. Then they went to this goth look, black studs, and looking like they came out of S&M on Shout the Devil. And then they went the glam look with frizzles and all this stuff, different colorful stuff, a lot of pink and stuff, gloves. Nikki Sixx had that black and white suit, and that was on Theater of Pain. Then they went to biker look on Girls, 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 and then they just went raw, just like nothing on Dr. Feelgood. So every album they changed their look, and but some great music coming out of that. But Theater of Pain, of course, Home Sweet Home is going to be my favorite on that album. That you can say, some people will say that's got a lot of fatigue on it, and I'm like, Home Sweet Home has got fatigue. You hear that all the time, and it doesn't strike me as fatigue. Home Sweet Home started the power ballad craze. I mean, there may have been power ballads before that, but that really started the power ballad craze. All these bands had to have one after that, not just because of how good the song was, but the video made it even better. The video was on Dial MTV. It retired from Dial MTV, so you couldn't even vote for it after a while. It was number one for so long. But what can you say? Theater of Pain, my hat's off to Motley Crue for that album. A lot of people don't like that album or don't think it's one of their best. I will put it up there. I mean, maybe, and this is not a knock on any of them, because the first five were great. Really, first six, if you count John Sarabi, that's a great album. If that had been, I've said it time and time again, if that had been any other name besides Motley Crue on there, people would love that album. But that's just not what they expected from a Motley Crue album. So, yeah, Theater of Pain, and somebody was, we're going to get into how old I am in a little bit. But but that's been a while ago. It doesn't feel like it's been that long ago. Like I said, there's things between football and music and movies I can remember from way back then. Just like I said, I can remember buying the cassette, getting it home, and it's just a great memory. But I can't remember what I'm supposed to get from the grocery store. Isn't that weird? So today, I got up and I've got the day off today, and I'm looking through, was it Hulu or Netflix? One of the streaming services. I don't know which one it was. And I come across this. I've been meaning to watch it, and I never did. But was it Hulu? Yeah, it was Hulu. Kid 90. Soleil Moon Frye, otherwise known as Punky Brewster. She did a documentary. Evidently, she was, and here comes my dogs barking at something, nothing in the world. But evidently she took a camcorder around a lot back in the day, and I mean pretty much everywhere, because she had all these hours and hours of footage that she had put away from back in the day, for even when she was a teenager and listen to my dog in there barking at absolute nothing. When she was a teenager and all her friends, she would carry it everywhere with her. And she took it out and watched. She had diaries that she had locked up. She took it out and watched it. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a pretty good documentary. It talks about her struggle with life after Punky Brewster. Apparently, she had something called breast hypertrophy, because by the time she was 15, she was in like a D size, almost in an E. So she had to have breast reduction surgery, and it affected her getting roles as a on shows. And I mean, which, when you get something like a Punky Brewster role that was so iconic for her back in the day. I mean, she went to the White House. She was all over the place. So for her to get typecast, I mean, that's typecast, just like the people on Friends. I'm sorry. I love Friends. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. But you're going to tell me when David Schwimmer goes to take another role, oh, that's Ross. I mean, it has happened. That's Joey. That's Jennifer Aniston has avoided it some, but I don't care what you say. Whatever show she's in, she's going to be. That's Rachel. She's probably done it a little bit better than anybody else as far as getting away from it. Courtney Cox, maybe a little bit, but a lot of Courtney Cox's movies that she did that were so good were before she was on Friends, like Ace Ventura, and Scream. Yeah, she did get away from that a little bit because she was not a fun person on Scream. She was kind of a bitch on Scream. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't realize how many people in her life committed suicide. I mean, or died young. There was it 3? At the end, she does kind of like a tribute to her friends that passed away early. I mean, young. And Jonathan Brandis, I don't know if you guys remember him he was in that Ladybugs movie with Rodney Dangerfield. And he was on that Sea Hunt TV show. He was like a really good friend of ours, killed himself. And there was 2 others. There was a skateboarder and another guy that happened to. But it's coincidence. But she did a lot. I didn't realize she dated Charlie Sheen. She talked about, I don't know, but I think he may have been. She lost her virginity to him. Something. There was one guy she talked about that may have raped her, and she wouldn't say his name, but she talks about Charlie. She doesn't say Charlie Sheen's name as far as that, but it's kind of insinuated as far as he was not the one that she was talking about the rape. It was somebody else, but he took her virginity. But yeah, that was not bad. I have not finished watching Bratz yet. I watched a little bit of it. Of course, the Brat Pack from the 80s. What's his name? Andrew. I can't think of his name. But all the guys that were in like the John Hughes movies. Emilio Estevez. And Molly Ringwald, Andrew McCarthy. He goes around and talks to some of these. John Cryer was on it. I realized he was in Pretty in Pink, but I didn't think he was a member of the Brat Pack. But apparently Brat Pack was not a compliment to them. They didn't like that term. It was a take on the Rat Pack. A reporter wrote an article about, I think, Emilio Estevez, and I've watched a little bit of it. I've got some documentaries I've got to finish up. I've got to finish up the Bon Jovi documentary, and we'll do a we'll do a podcast on that too. We'll do one on the Brat podcast too. But yeah, that was a pretty good documentary. She dealt with a lot of different things, and looks like she's got her life back straight. Still a very attractive woman. She does not look like. I mean, she's got that punky kind of look, but she's grown. I remember her. Two of my favorite shows. She guested on. She did played Robin on Saved by the Bell, the one that uses Screech for his money, and then on Friends she played Joey's girlfriend that beats him up, and so. She's been out there doing it. And it showed some of the little work she's done since then. Like, I think she was in Pumpkinhead 2, which I will not watch. I'm not a horror movie guy. So, yeah, not going to do that. So, speaking of documentaries, and I'm pulling it up right now, there's another docuseries getting ready to come out on Paramount, I think. The 3-part docuseries, Nothing But a Good Time, the uncensored story of 80s hair metal, will debut on the Paramount streaming service later this year. Series is based on the book of the same name, released by Tom Major and Richard Benstock. If I'm in 2021, I'm sorry if I butchered that name. Brett Michaels, Stephen Pearcy, Nuno Betancourt, Dave Snake Sabo are among the musicians who were interviewed for the program. Stephen Pearcy says of Rat said, if you want to relive the explosive decade, this is as close as you're going to get. All right here, right now. What was the other ones that came out a while back? I can't remember what the other one was that came out. There was another show, docuseries that came out that was really good. And I think it was on Paramount as well. But yeah, looking forward to that. Anytime you can get a document, I love a documentary, not just on music, sports. The 30 for 30 series is awesome. I loved when they did Behind the Music. I know they still do some, but Behind the Music on VH1 used to come out with a new one every week. And I don't know about you guys, but when I watched that, it made me, even if I wasn't a fan of that band, it made me want to listen to, just hearing the clips of some of their music made me want to go out and listen to their music. Like Leonard Skinner, I was a fan of the hits of Leonard Skinner, but, like Give Me 3 Steps, Simple Man, Free Bird, Sweet Home Alabama. But when I watched the Behind the Music, I started, wanting to hear more. And went out and bought a CD, the Greatest Hits CD, and then I went from there. And now there's a lot of Leonard Skinner songs that I like now, some of the deeper stuff. So, what else we got here before we get to the main event? Okay, album challenge. You guys know, if you've watched this before, I do an album challenge. I've been doing it for, since maybe a little bit after I started podcast, so about 3 years now. And what I do, instead of listening to the hits off of these albums, just listen to the popular songs. I wanted to listen. I started off, I was going to listen to an album a day for a year, 365 entire albums from start to finish, and I was going to rate them. And it got to where, I did 365, but it was way quicker than a year. So I just kept on doing it, and I've been doing it ever since. And I'm almost to 1,700 now. As a matter of fact, I'm right around the corner from 1,700. And some of the ones I've listened to here lately, and I always do this when we do the podcast, and I haven't done it in a while. So Night Ranger, Neverland. I'm a big Night Ranger fan, and I had never, ever heard of this album before. But let me tell you, it ended up being a really good Night Ranger album. There's a lot of songs over there that I like. If you like me, you didn't know about that, check it out. Stone Temple Pilots, Tiny Music, and it's a long, drawn out. That one was okay. I remember buying the CD when it came out. Actually, I was working. As a teenager. I don't know. I may have been in my 20s then. Working, and I went to the local Walmart and found it there when it came out. Ozzy Osbourne, Undercover, not a fan of that one. There's certain songs. Ozzy needs songs that are geared towards his voice, not doing other people's songs. And just didn't do good. Cody Jinks, Lifers. I picked up on Cody Jinks from my daughter and my friend Kyle Barber, who has been on the show a couple of times, and has done the Triple Threat main event. Like, we did a WrestleMania watch along. He sat there with me for almost the entire one of the nights of WrestleMania, and we watched that and commented back and forth. It was a really good night. Tuck Smith and the Restless Hearts, Ballad of a Misfit Youth. I learned about Tuck Smith from another podcast that I listen to a lot. is the Shout Out Loudcast, which is a KISS podcast, but they also do a side cast called Dorm Damage, and they have a lot of different things on Dorm Damage. If you haven't checked them out, guys. Tom and Zeus, great guys, and do a great job with the KISS podcast, but also that Dorm Damage when they bring in different guests, and they've had some great guests. Matter of fact, this past week they just had Tracy Guns from LA Guns on their podcast, so you check them out. But Tuck Smith, a great album there. If you haven't heard of Tuck Smith and the Restless Heart or Tuck Smith, check him out. AC/DC, Flicker the Switch. Yeah, it was okay. Bare Naked Ladies, Gordon. Of course, that had the hits up there. What was the name of the song? Let's see. If I Had $1 Million was up there. And there was some other, Brian Wilson. Not bad song. It was okay. I'm not that big of a fan. Christopher Cross. I'm a Christopher Cross fan through and through. Another page there. Sebastian Bach with his new solo album, Child Within the Man. Great album. I'd recommend that if you're a fan of like that kind of music from back in the day, like I am. Check out Sebastian Bach. Kings of Leon. Can we please have fun? That was surprisingly, I like that album. I really did enjoy that album. Check that out. That just came out. Elvis Presley, Moody Blue. And I remember, and I always say, if I listen to one album of an artist, I have to listen to their discography. And who knows how long I'll be doing this album challenge. But so Elvis Presley, I picked Moody Blue because my mom is a diehard Elvis fan. And I just remember her getting this on vinyl. And that was the first time I ever saw colored vinyl. Imagine that back in the day when I think every vinyl that comes out now has got some kind of swirl or mixture or something like that to it. But Elvis Presley, Moody Blue, pretty good album. I think that was his last one before he passed. Scotty McCreery, Rise and Fall. Man, I really enjoyed Scotty McCreery. Slow Dance was a good one. Red Letter Blueprint. Awesome song. Check them out. Then I went back. My daughter is a huge Fleetwood Mac fan. And, listened to some of the stuff with her. Started listening to Fleetwood Mac. I did their self-titled album. A really good album. Had Landslide on it. Rhiannon is on there. See what else was on there. That was Say You Love Me was on there. Then this artist, I picked up on her from Apple Playlist. I went through Apple Playlist to get some ideas for new albums that I hadn't really listened to. And J.J. Wild, I'd never heard of her before. And I've listened to 2 albums from her now. Great albums. She is I love her voice. She does a great job. Taylor Swift's new album, The Torture Poets Farm. Yes, I did it. 31 songs, guys. It was okay. You're not getting me into Swifties, though. Dokken, Shadow Life, that was okay. I'm a big Dokken fan. It was okay. It was a couple of them that I really didn't enjoy, but I can handle it. Then Ann Wilson, and no, I'm not talking about Ann Wilson from Heart. This is a country Christian artist, Ann Wilson. Her album called Rebel. Awesome album. Some of the songs that stand out: Strong, Sinner's Prayer, My Father's Daughter, Dirt Roads in Heaven, 316, or some of the standouts there. You need to give her a listen. Pearl Jam's new one. And I'm not that big of a Pearl Jam fan, but I did enjoy this Pearl Jam album. I did enjoy it. It was really good. George Strait, Straight Country. What can you say about George Strait? It's great. Ernest's new album. My daughter helped me discover Ernest when he sang Flower Shops. We play that in the car a lot. I really love that. Is one of my favorite songs of the last few years. New songs that have come out over the past few years. But Ernest, Nashville, Tennessee, a lot of 4s on here. They do a remake of Radiohead's Creep, and I was impressed. I liked it. Kane Brown. I finally got into Kane Brown, and he had a couple good songs on there, but he was okay. He's okay. Heart, going back in time, Heart magazine. Didn't really care for this one. I know they do a remake of Without You, Can't Live, Living Without You. How many people have done a remake of that song? Green Day's newest, Saviors. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I'm not that big of a Green Day fan, guys. This new album is great. Susie Chapstick is one great song on there. Goodnight Adeline is a great song. But there's a lot more songs up there. And I just finished Dirty Honey, Can't Find the Brakes. It was good. I didn't like it as much as I did the first EP. And now I'm working on Indigo Girls, Swamp Ophelia, MC5, Kick Out the Jams, Beyonce, Cowboy Carter, and then I'll have Jamie Johnson guitar song. Now, none of these three, the first three, are really making me fans right now. I'm not the Indigo Girls. They have some songs that I do, a couple of songs, but I listened to one album, so I got to go through the whole discography. At this one, Swamp Ophelia is not. I'm not a fan of right now. The Beyonce Cowboy Carter, I'm not a fan of so far. I'm about 3 into that. MC5, Kick Out the Jams. I'd heard about this for years, and it's a live album, but sorry if you're MC5, I'm sorry. And I have not started on Jamie Johnson yet, but I will be getting that. But that's pretty much what I've got going on with the album challenge. So, one of the main topics tonight, besides being the 5th anniversary, and another topic we're going to talk about in just a second, is a playlist. I like making playlists. And sometimes I get carried away with my playlist to where, I've got so many songs on here that it's so many. I mean, like my running playlist. Okay. I've made 4 running playlists now. Oh my gosh. So didn't want to interrupt anybody, but I've just got Mr. Speed Kiss tribute band coming to the Acorn Center in Littleton, North Carolina, which is about 30 minutes from me. Yeah, this might be something I have to go see, guys. Wow. August 3rd at 7:30. Let me check. Doors open at 6:30. How much are the tickets going to be? I'm sorry, guys. We're going to check this out quick before we go. Okay. Not bad. Anyway. Running playlists. I just started making another one. I'm going back through it. And I wanted you guys, if you're out there listening, still not too late, you can post it. Send me your favorite workout songs or running songs. I can tell you from mine, I'm going to pull up one of mine. Iron Man from Black Sabbath is always on my running playlist. Let's see. So almost every song from the Rocky IV soundtrack could be on my playlist. Eye of the Tiger, which is on Rocky IV soundtrack, as well as Rocky III. The Vince DiCola instrumentals. I think it's one, the training montage, and then War, where it's actually the film score for the fight for that boxing match. Yeah, it's pretty great. I mean, any one of them up there. Thunderstruck from AC/DC is always up there. Okay, Alan Parsons Project. The intro, Sirius, which is, if you're a sports fan, you know, Sirius is the intro music that they used when they used to introduce and I don't know if they still do it or not, the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan was there. So it's kind of short, but that kind of gets me pumped up when I'm running. Like I said, Bill Conti from Rocky 3, his instrumentals, especially Conquest, is one that's a great one. And that's pretty much the music that when he fights Clubber Lang. And I go some softer side as well. There's a Christina Perri song called Human. And you have to listen to that to know the story with that. Hungry for Heaven by Dio. Not Afraid by Eminem. Of course, My Hero from Foo Fighters. Let's see. You know, one of them that I kind of skip now because I guess I'm a little fatigued with it is Welcome to the Jungle. Let me see. What's some good ones up here? Only the Young by Journey. Yeah, that kind of gets me going. Boys of Fire from Kenny Chesney. You're the Best Around from Karate Kid. Joe Esposito. Oh my gosh. That's got to be on my running list. Danger Zone by Kenny Loggins. And a lot of people that are Kiss fans will get on me about this, but is on my list from The Elder. A lot of people will say, Kiss fans will be like, oh gosh. Until It Sleeps by Metallica. Dr. Feelgood from Motley Crue. Hearts on Fire, John Cafferty, who did it for the Rocky IV soundtrack. No Easy Way Out from Robert Tepper. Yes. Burning Heart from Survivor. Winning It All from The Outfield. Great song. Great pump-up song. We Are the Champions from Queen. The Wild and the Young from Quiet Riot. Yeah, there's a lot up here, guys. An instrumental that, because of what I saw it on years ago, and one of the things that made me want to do like videography, and I do still do a little videography, but was it the 96 Olympics where they had the Carrie Strug Olympic gold medals? Well, you know, my brother would record the Olympics because he was, I don't know what got him on that, but we were watching it, and one of the songs that came up for intro on the gymnastics team was Melancholy and Infinite Sadness from the Smashing Pumpkins. I mean, that is a great instrumental. Check it out. I Can't Hold Back from Survivor. Changes from Tesla. Right Now from Van Halen. Hero from the Spider-Man soundtrack. Chad Kroger. A lot, and See You Again from Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth. But that's got a whole different story behind it. Brick and Mortar, their remake of Voodoo Child. No Leaf Clover by Metallica. But it's a lot up here, guys. You guys give me some of your playlist songs, your workout songs, and I'll add it to my playlist. I am such a, like I said, this. Let me tell you. Let me see if I can pull up how many songs are on this. Hold on. 359 songs. 25. I could run for a whole day, like Forrest Gump, and I would still have music to play. So there's a lot of them up there, guys, but I'm still looking for more. All right. So another main event part of this show tonight, friend of mine that we have known each other since kindergarten. I mean, way back. We were 5 years old. Went all through school together, graduated together. I carried her to our senior prom. We went to our senior prom together. And we always joked around with each other, carried on about, and we always talked about music and other things like, social, entertainment. It was no social media then. We had to make our own stuff. But one of the things we used to joke around about White Line, Pride, the album. My brother actually went to see them in concert when they opened for all people AC/DC, and he came home with a White Line shirt. And I don't know, I can't remember the story about why we got on the White Line shirt. Maybe I wore it to school a couple of times and she was, talking about it. But this week, 37 years ago, Pride was released. White Line Pride was released on June 22nd, 1987. So 2 days ago. It was 37 years ago, 2 days ago. And this was the second studio album by the American-Danish glam metal band White Line. It was on Atlantic Records back when you had record companies like Atlantic. I was so like OCD back then, guys. Everybody remembers me back in school as the guy that I always carried the jam box. When we went on trips like to ball games or whatever, we had our activity bus. I would be the one that had the entertainment. I had the jam box. I had a double-sided suitcase-looking thing that carried all my cassettes on it. So people were asking, play this, especially on the way back. We would listen to a little bit on the way, but on the way back was when, especially if things went well, if we won, we would listen to a lot. I was the DJ. It was like I was a DJ, not like Jazzy Jeff or nothing, but I was the DJ. But this one would come up. I remember because you had it, and I don't know if they all came out, but it seems like I always grouped these three together. I always grouped White Line, Warrant, and Winger, and who else was it? Skid Row. I always grouped them together because they always came out about the same time. But Pride came out, and I was like, who are these guys? Wait was the first single released on it in June of that year, of 87. And it was catchy. I mean, and look, the power of MTV. It really didn't get out there. It really didn't have that much popularity. Wait didn't until MTV began showing the video. Wait was released in June. The music video came out in January 88. That was 7 months after it was released. And after the music video comes out, Wait goes to number 8 on the Billboard Top 100. And then August, it's all another year after the album's released. Tell Me is the second single, and that got to number 58. Which Tell Me is great. I mean, if I have to rank, I'll have to talk about some of these other songs and them in just a few minutes. But the three main singles were Wait, Tell Me, and then, like I said earlier, the ballad. Every hair rock or rock from the 80s album, especially after Home Sweet Home came out, they had a formula. They had to have at least one ballad on there. And this one was a gentle acoustic ballad. This is what Wikipedia says. When the Children Cry. And that made it all the way to number 3 with, MTV had the music video all over, Headbangers Ball, whatever. The album actually peaked at number 11 on the album charts, and Pride would remain near the top of the album charts for a full year. So Mike Tramp had that distinctive voice and is still doing White Line songs today. He does like a tour doing White Line stuff. And let me tell you guys, one of my favorite guitar players of all time. So talented. And when you listen to, if you go back and listen to this album and listen to the solos, these solos are freaking awesome. Vito Bratta, man, he is freaking awesome. And he taught himself. He was not, and he wasn't around for long. And it's still, they say that he's done something to his hand. He's pretty much disappeared from, I think there was an interview he did with Eddie Trunk maybe 10 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. But man, such a great guitar player. And any of the White Line albums that he's on, you listen to him and he's freaking awesome. I can't say enough about him. I always played the different kind of guitar too. I'm not a gearhead, so I don't know how to even describe it, but it didn't have the thing at the top, the head or whatever. I don't know any terminology. I'm sorry. I just know good music, and this was good music. So yeah, drummer Greg D'Angelo, bass player James Lomenzo, James Lomenzo is now with Megadeth. You go from White Line to Megadeth, end up with Megadeth. So it's just a great album from start to finish. And some of the tracks, Hungry, leads off with Hungry, a great song. And then Lonely Nights is one of my favorites. The acoustic intro on that. And then they go right into it. Don't Give Up, that's okay. Sweet Little Lovin', Lady of the Valley is pretty good. Wait, of course, is great. All You Need Is Rock and Roll. Okay. Tell Me is great. All Joy in Our Hands is a good one. When the Children Cry. A lot of people give that crap because it's like a sappy ballad and it's talking about, what is it? What have we begun? Just look what we have done. All that we've destroyed, you must build again. It's talking about what kids have to do in the future. I get it if you don't like it. I can understand you don't like it. But, man, I mean, this is a great song. Back in the day, it totally fit that time. I mean, any of you guys out there that crap on it now, and if you were around back then, I guarantee you were listening to it. You knew all the words to that song, and you were singing it back in the day when it came on the radio or MTV. I guarantee it. But now it's just cool to crap on it. But When the Children Cry, that was in October '88. That was even longer than a year after. They say that All You Need Is Rock and Roll was also released as a 4th single. I don't know for sure about that. But yeah, just a great album. White Line, Pride. I mean, I could listen to this album start to finish and not have a skip on it. They come out later. They followed that up with their 3rd album, Big Game, which had some good songs on it. Little Fighter was a great song. I enjoyed that. That was the leadoff single. Then they did a remake of Golden Earrings, Radar Love, which was a big hit for them. I wasn't that crazy about that one. Then they also released Cry for Freedom. I don't remember that too much. I know it's 6 minutes long, and it's the last one on the album. They were talking about this album, and Mike Tramp has said in interviews that he thinks the album is half finished. He and guitarist Vito Bratta wrote the album in over 2 weeks in his Palm Springs hotel room and recorded the album very quickly. They regretted that decision, but they were inexperienced and felt pressured from the record. The record company wanted to get it out there as quick as they could, and benefit. That's how they did it back in the days, guys. It wasn't like, you can put a single out on Spotify or Apple Music whenever you want to. the record company with the chart at. Ooh, excuse me. So go out and listen. Margaret Holmesworth, you brought it up. I told you I was going to do it. I'm doing it. Go listen to White Line Pride tonight, guys. We'll listen to it tomorrow. Maybe add it to your running playlist like we talked about tonight. And guys, you see my attire tonight. I'm representing my buddy Warren Meredith and his guys in Tamansari. See my hat. He sent me the swag. They sent me the swag, and I appreciate it so much. I told him I was going to represent, and I do. They're like my official house band of On The Fly. Like I said, maybe we can get some cool intro music or something. Not that my intro music is cool. Matthew Bazemore did a great job with my intro music. I love it. So before we get out of here, because we're a little over an hour now. Before we get out of here, I just want to I talked about doing this podcast and doing the Final Score as well. I started off with the Final Score with a sports podcast, and I had so much that I want to do about music. And I talked to some friends of mine, and we talked about it. I said, why don't you just do a music podcast? So I started doing it, and I've had some great guests on the show. Gosh, if I have to name them, of course, I'll start off with the ones that have been on here the most. Noel Tolan, great up-and-coming country singer. Thank you so much to Brickshore Media, Nicole Zeller. She has helped me so much, sending her clients from Brickshore Media to On The Fly. I mean, I've had several of them up here. Annie Vander, Brian Mullen, Molly Lovett, Andrea Vasquez, Noel, to name a few. And hopefully we'll be able to work together again soon. I want to get some more up here. And I will always represent Brickshore Media. I'll tell you that, guys. Brickshore Media, Nicole Zeller, thank you so much for your help over the last couple of years that we've been working together. You've been so great, so awesome. You're an awesome person. Thank you, guys. And Noel, all you guys out there, Brian, Annie, thank you so much for coming on the show. You've been on, so many times, and I really appreciate it. Really appreciate getting to not only to be able to talk to these guys. These are up and coming country music artists, guys. They could hit it big one day. They are talented. A lot of them are so talented. Matter of fact, Andrea Vasquez is on heavy rotation on CMT right now. So check these guys out. Go look at the back episodes of some On The Fly. I mean, I've had Todd Howarth from Cheap Trick, Freely's Comet, 4x4. Gosh, so many. And he does one of my favorite songs of all time. It's Over Now with Freely's Comet. A great ballad. He is a great guy. He's been on the show a couple of times. Hopefully we'll have him on again soon when he's got some news breaking, maybe soon. Warren Meredith from Tamansari. He's been on the show multiple times. Warren was actually my first video interview because before I'm in a small rural town in eastern North Carolina. If you can't tell by the accent, I'm from the South. But we're such a small town. We didn't have high-speed internet till about maybe a year and a half ago, something like that. So I was doing over the phone interviews and didn't realize I couldn't call to Canada because that's where Warren is from. So we just broke bad and tried to do a Zoom call one night, and we did it. And he was the first up there. He's been on several times since then, and hopefully we'll have him on again too when they've got some more news out. Talked about all the ones from Brickshore Media. Great. I've really enjoyed being able to interview those guys and hear some of the stuff there. We talked about Tom and Zeus from the Shout Out Loudcast earlier. Zeus has been on the show a few times. I want to say 3 times. Hopefully we'll have him and Tom on. Tom has not been on yet. We hope to get him on sometime too. Some of my co-hosts, I've got to take Kyle Barber, like we talked about him earlier from the Sports Objective podcast. We talked about him earlier. He was on a few times. Some of my co-hosts, though, the first one I had was Mr. Lynn Bryant. He was on the Final Score and did some duty on the fly. We miss Lynn. I wish Lynn would come back sometime. Just come back for a couple of episodes here and there. We had a good time. We had a great time. Lynn is an old childhood friend of mine as well. Jason Warden did a great job while he was here on the fly. I hope Jason's doing well. Enjoyed his time. He contributed greatly to On the Fly. Let's see. Jack Pinocchio, the hitman from Down Under. Like I said, he has been on the fly, and he's also my co-host on the Triple Threat main event. He is, who would have ever thought a guy from North Carolina and a guy from Australia would be doing a wrestling podcast? Just doesn't make any sense. And Joe Decker, who is a great friend of mine, another guy that I met through doing this podcast, and I've never met him face to face, but is a great friend and somebody that me and Joe are going to be doing some things on here hopefully soon. We're going to crank back up with our Ozzy Osbourne discography review. We did Bark at the Moon, and I think now we're going to get ready to do Down to Earth. We're going to go through the whole catalog of Ozzy, but thank you so much to all those guys for all the help and for coming on the show. And look, just to name a few, while I'm going to brag. I'm going to brag a little bit. I know this is not the superstars, but I consider these guys just as important as any superstar out there to be able to interview. West Beach from the Plasmatics, Joey Casada. You guys know Joey Casada. Let's see. Janet Simmons, who did the Rise of Eric Carr book. Hopefully we'll have her back on when she has her next book comes out. Joe McGinnis, who is in quarantine, and Classic 78 came on. Todd Howard, we talked about him. Brad Rostovan came on and did a Weird Al episode with us. Andrews Gambati, who did some Kiss with us. Brian Mullen, who did the Tesla draft. Local guy, Eric Dunlow. We've had him on a couple of times. Carlisle Griffin, Wade Quick, Mark Taylor, Michael Lee, Flint Adams from Brickshore Media. There's some more from Brickshore Media. Michael Dorrit and Victor Staben, who did some of the Kiss album covers. It was great to talk to them. Steve Wright from the Potter Than Hell podcast is another podcast you should check out. Michael Murphy from Written by Wolves came on. We've got to have him back on again. Let's see. Matthew Blackout from Tiger Tales. We had him on. Me and another co-host, Preston Quinn, the Pain Train. Thank you so much, Preston, for all your support over the years and all the times you have come on this show to do some top 10 lists and do that interview with Tiger Tales. Ken Nardi, who did a remake of Kiss Meet the Phantom of the Park. Keith Coogan from Adventures in Babysitting and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, among other things. Let's see. Alex Grassi from Quiet Riot. Let's see. Barry Coffin, who did a lot of the music for like California Dreams, the TV show, and some Saved by the Bell stuff, and also The Heights, How Do You Talk to an Angel. We had Tom from Classic 78 on. So I've got some of the Kerry Kelly from Night Ranger. Great. Jeremy Lick from the Hogan family. Remember him. Paul Carafatis from All the Right Moves, among other things. Aaron Blunt from the Bad News Bears, who played Ahmad. Laura Brannigan's legacy manager, Kathy Golick. Leslie Kay, who was on As the World Turns and Bold and Beautiful. Yeah, we had some Morgan England, who was on Guiding Light. Brian Buffington, who was on the Guiding Light. Brentley Gore from California Dreams. The Jets. We had 2 members of the Jets on here, which was great. DJ Cumberbund, who is my most listened to episode on here. Preston Quinn, Todd Howard, the Flux Capacitors, who was what great guys. I've got to get them back on. David Pollock, who played Rudy Stein on the Bad News Bears. Mitch LaFon, J. Anthony Frankie. Gosh, we've had so many up here. It's just been I've been so blessed to have some of the people up here, and I appreciate it. These are all people. Aaron Jackson from California Dreams. So we've had 3 from California Dreams. Kyle from LaGrange. Yeah, I've already talked about you. I don't know if you missed it or not. I did give a shout out to you for coming on the show and helping out, especially in the 3-hour marathon watch along of WrestleMania that we did that night. So all you guys out there, thank you from the bottom of my heart. All you guests that have came on, thank you. It's been a blast to be able to have some of these, and hopefully I can get some more guests on here. I'm working on that, sending out interview requests. If you other guys from any other podcast have any connections or have any suggestions, let me know. I learned from my mentor, Gaddis Hodges, that all you got to do is ask, the worst they can say is no. And, that's something I've gone by. I've sent out a lot. I have heard some no's. I have been just totally ignored. So that's fine too. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Hopefully we'll be cranking this out every week now again. Kyle, I hate you got to the party a little bit late, but yeah, I'm getting ready to pack it up, pack it in, and I'm not going to begin. You guys know what that that lyric came from. I bet Kyle doesn't know if he's still even watching. I bet he doesn't know what song that came from. I'm getting ready to pack it up, pack it in, and I'm not going to begin. Just ask your Siri, or ask Jessica. She'll probably know quicker than Siri does. But anyway, there you go. You asked Siri. I bet you did. You asked Siri, hey Siri, what does pack it up, pack it in come from? And of course, Siri goes off on my phone. But it came up, understanding UN packaging codes. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for these 5 years. I can't even get up. So he knows the lyrics. He's probably copy and pasted that off of somewhere. Guys, thank you for 5 years on the fly. Hopefully we've got a lot more to come. We've done, over 100 episodes in 5 years. Yeah, that's not a whole lot. It's not a weekly podcast. Sometimes I have to space it out a little bit with stuff I've got going on between coaching and jobs and other stuff that I had going on. But still have a few episodes in the can that I've got to put out, and I think you guys will enjoy it. But thank you so much for all your support the last 5 years. It means a lot, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. But that's going to do it for tonight. Stay tuned Wednesday night, the final score. Great guest coming on. He's got a great Facebook page. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag until we get going. Hopefully we'll go live, and your guys' question. Hey, I'll let it out. I'll go ahead. I'll let it out. Kyle, I just got word. The Acorn Center in Littleton, North Carolina, which is a new venue that I've heard of, but I've never been to. Kiss tribute band Mr. Speed. Tickets go on sale tomorrow. Voted the best Kiss tribute band in the world. Saturday, August 3rd. May have to check that out. Anyway, you guys, let me see. What was I going to say? What was I talking about? Ghost. This guy is on Facebook. His Facebook page is Ghost of the Orange Bowl. So he deals with a lot of sport events that happened in the past in the old Orange Bowl. And there's one in particular that my favorite memory for the Orange Bowl that we'll get into that Wednesday night. But if you have any questions, if you have any memories of the Orange Bowl, be sure to be here 7:00 Wednesday night, and we'll be here talking and having a good time. And the final score gets cranked back up, just like On The Fly does, guys. But you guys have a great night. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on The Fly.